In the Casey Anthony trial today, and what has been a huge day in this case yet again, a day that included more testimony from her family, and for the first time, Anthony herself also spoke to the court. Jay Gray begins our live coverage tonight. He's joining us outside the Orlando courthouse. Jay?
Hey there, Shannon. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A riveting day inside the courtroom here with dramatic, very emotional testimony, and it did begin with, for the first time, Casey Anthony rising to speak to the court. For the first time during the 6 weeks of this trial, Casey Anthony spoke in the Orlando courtroom.
I can answer that now.
Okay.
I agree with Ms. Fennell.
The short response was during a brief hearing outside the presence of the jury and began what was an explosive day of testimony.
I need to get through this. I need to have something inside of me get through this.
As her father broke down on the witness stand, Casey stared stoically. On a day that included at times combative and others gut-wrenching emotional testimony from her father, Casey reacted from the defense table. As he talked about her possible involvement in Kaylee's death.
I didn't want to believe back then that my daughter could be capable of taking the life of her daughter.
Casey said something under her breath, and at a key point when he was asked about allegations he molested his daughter.
I would never do anything to harm my daughter in that way.
Only in that way.
She stared at him and slowly shook her head.
I swear.
The drama continued with the next witness, Brandon Sparks, the son of meter reader Roy Kronk, who said he found Kaylee's remains in December of 2008. Sparks said his father told him he actually identified those remains much earlier.
He told me that he knew where the remains were.
And when did he tell you this?
This was in November 2008.
Next, Kronk was called back to the stand as the defense continued to question his actions and involvement in the case. Casey Anthony's legal team looking for any traction they can get with this jury as they near the end of their defense. Live in Orlando, I'm Jay Gray. Shannon, now back to you.
Jay, thank you. Our team coverage continues tonight with legal analyst Michelle Suskauer. She's in our newsroom tonight. Michelle, George Anthony, of course, taking the stand. We just heard from him moments ago in that report. How did he do today in your estimation?
I thought he did very, very well. This was very emotional. He showed that this is something that just bothers him to the very core. He lost his granddaughter. His daughter is on trial for her death, and he really showed himself to be true and real. I thought he did very, very well in front of the jury.
Overall, the defense, how are they doing? Because there was an estimation or a summary yesterday that they appeared to kind of be beating up on some of the witnesses on the stand. What is your read?
He definitely, Jose Baez was beating up on George Anthony today, and although George Anthony is really one of the crux of their case in terms of how he knew allegedly that the baby had drowned in the pool, I think that Jose Baez should have been maybe just a little bit more sensitive. As a defense lawyer, when you're cross-examining, you have to be really sensitive to, you're not dealing with objects, you're dealing with folks, you're dealing with real people with real feelings, regardless of how you personally feel about them. So I think that Jose Baez really lost some points there in his cross-examination of George Anthony.
Very quickly, we heard ever so briefly from Casey Anthony today. Do you think she'll take the stand?
I don't. I think it would be a tremendous mistake. I would never put her on the stand. I think that she is not going to gain anything. She's not going to gain any points. They're using a traumatologist to talk about how she's dealt with grief. They're using other ways to try to pick at the state's case, attacking the scientific evidence. They're not going to win by putting Casey on the stand.
Michelle Suskauer from our newsroom tonight. Thanks as always for your analysis.
Thank you.